My name is Nassine Saps.
Let me ask you a question. Has anything ever happened to you that you couldn't explain? That made you feel sort of foolish when you tried to tell somebody about it? Well, if it has, you have plenty of company, as you'll soon see.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Didn't work out.
Stargate is a massive new AI infrastructure project that brings together President Donald Trump, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, Oracle's Larry Ellison, and OpenAI's Sam Altman. They're committing $500 billion over 4 years to build data centers, supercomputers, and the core tech needed to push AI to its next frontier.
Larry Ellison here, this is a few months ago. He's talking about what I call live streaming, which is everything is going to have a camera. That's the end goal. You want everything to be recording data and feeding that data into a mother brain. The more data it gets about the universe, the smarter it's going to be. They're building a big hive mind brain thing. That's what this is. All the wires that extend around the world, the undersea cables and all that, imagine those as like axons in your brain and neurons and synapses connecting with one another. It's just a big old brain.
As a child, I want to get to the Elon stuff.
Okay.
Because that's the first video I saw of you, and you had known him as a child. And why don't you tell about that one particular experience that you made the documentary on your site about?
Now, it was arranged. I go be with her, but yet she asked my permission. So she was made out to be my hero because all of a sudden now I'm not getting auctioned off to a creepy guy going to cut me up. Now I'm going to a nice white lady with a cute house. Get it? Now, you know what I mean? I felt
safe. You actually went to her house then?
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't live with her.
She was a neighbor?
It's weird. They said everything was staged because I look back now and go, that doesn't make any sense. So my aunt, one of my real blood aunties, lost her butt in Europe. They went and blew all their money in Europe for a couple years and came back broke. Everybody was mad at them because they blew a lot of money. And all of a sudden she's friends with May Musk and gets a new house, a cute little house right across the street. Well, May didn't live there yet. To me, the thing is that they owned that. They built that street in 1940. Of course, this was all planned before I was born. So I looked at some of the records, the city records. Okay, I get sent over to my auntie's, a meeting with May Musk. Somebody says, will you watch our kids? Well, will you watch my friend's kid while we go on a prison visit? And I go, oh, your kids? Because there's this lady, Imelda. I go, oh, your kids? Because I thought I was going to watch everybody's kids together, a big pile, because sometimes people dumped all the children on me at one time. And that's how I ended up being a nanny. I play guitar and love them. So she said, no, this kid's special. He's coming from Africa. I thought he was going to be a little black retarded kid, excuse me, but I was like, okay, a special little kid from Africa.
Well, this is in that time, those are, yes.
Sorry, that's the language. We were so politically incorrect.
Look, I grew up in Compton in the early 70s, so I can relate.
So they asked me if I will, and then May comes, and it was a big deal. Living with a coked out mother, my hygiene wasn't great, and I had hookers hand-me-downs, okay? Even though we were rich as could be, you know what I mean? I was not cared for. I was hungry, you know, it may have been a Playboy mansion, but there wasn't a door on the bathroom. So, you know, who wants to go in there and take a shower? You know what I mean? So all of a sudden I was in a cute little place and my aunt cleaned me up and got me some pretty clothes that weren't hooker hand-me-downs, you know, Fredericks of Hollywood. Now it's normal, but it wasn't normal then to look like that. And and May met with me at the table. She said, and that's the first time I met Elon. And I'd like to tell you something that happened that day. I've never told anybody, okay? The first time I met Elon. So May and we met at the table, and she asked my permission, which I always think is part of them getting me in bondage, because I agreed. Even though I was a child, even though I was procured, I agreed. And
they always ask me.
Do they? She always did. And nobody in my life ever did. So that's different. I remember that. Coming to him. So the first time I met him, and then they sent me off to hang out with him. And he was in my aunt's house. So my aunt loses her butt. All of a sudden she gets this cute little house on Penny Lane. And, you know, Napa's a pretty prestigious little place. And then I go off with the little boy and the women, and I call him, I can't tell you what I call him. Actually, there's a cuss word in it. But I go off with the little boy. And we're playing, and he's skipping around like little guys do. He was tiny as a 2-year-old, tiny. He's skipping around doing little skips like when a deer's born, you know, little kids skip and do little things. And he came over to the window, and he was looking at something out the window, and the sun was coming in the window. And I got down on my hands and knees, and he was trying to say something to me. I was like, what do you see, honey? What do you know, I thought it was a bug or in the window or something, a bug, or he's pointing. And I got right down there with him. His eyes were black. His eyes were black. Black. And I was like, that's not normal. Like for a minute, they turned black. And I remember that fear in your soul and bones. So I remember that, and I've never told anybody that happened.
Wow.
Then
And it's funny, we've been seeing, you know, the acting pedotus with black eyes and stuff like that, like the pupils looking black. People are starting to catch on to these things. The eyes are the windows to the soul.
She asked me, now this is a trip too, the permission thing. So then May, who called herself Light, and I've never called her May to her face. Never.
Just
I never
Light.
called her Light. Only Light. And like, I wouldn't live to see the next day if I ever did that. Like, do not, under penalty, do not ever say her real name. And I wasn't supposed to know her real name because she was in the Helter Skelter book. My aunt had a copy, and there were plenty of copies at thrift stores for 10, 20 years, and now they're not there.
So she was actually mentioned, she was the May in Charles Manson's book.
Yes, but you can't find that book. It's been reprint. There's reprints that say first edition, but they're not the one I saw for the first 10 years.
Okay. And just to be clear, when you were asked to babysit, it was because you were essentially a slave.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. And those are the words everybody else used, but not me. And so, but I want to share those words that they have.
Oh, that's very important, because you were a slave to the system at this point.
Yes. And he said, call me Moon. I said, Moon, come play with my friends. He's so excited. And I knew something weird was going on in there. And there was wind and energy. And I like peeked in the door. I was scared, man. I peeked in the door, and something was wrong in there. And it was like there was something happening. I don't know the language to describe it, but like.
And how old do you think? How old would he be at this point in time?
By the record, he would be 7 or 8, but he was
7 or 8.
2-year-old, like a baby that just learned how to walk. Like, so later I would wonder and doubt myself: is he one of his grandfather's lab experiments? You know, because I go, is he human? I asked my aunt. She's like, I don't know. Those Illuminati. Okay, he opened up something, a portal, a Stargate, whatever. But he was excited, and he was jumping up and down. And
so he was able to open up a Stargate in his room.
Whatever you want to call it. It was a different dimension.
Yeah, a portal. Well, portal would be the actual name.
And I've been so embarrassed to say it out loud that everybody would laugh at me or lock me up. I only told my aunt.
So tell me what happened. Something's not right. Something's scary in that room. Describe what you see and what happens.
I went to the edge of the doorway and I peeked in there, and I was afraid just to peek. And there was something happening in there, like a sci-fi movie. And there was something, he set him up like a little Stonehenge on his bed, and he was tiny, like I told you, so tiny. And he was jumping up and down, and he was saying, "Moon, come play with my friends." Okay, that right there says he knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't like he accidentally opened a portal and didn't know what he had friends. So I peeked in there, and I was so scared. I'm embarrassed to tell this. It's so ridiculously weird. And he was being lifted, and he was starting to go. He was being lifted, and he was being lifted, and he's being sucked in. I know this sounds ridiculous, but my aunt told me, don't let nothing happen to that effing little kid. And normally I would never let anything happen to a child that was watching. I would run between them and a pit bull. And I said, but the way she said it, I said, why? And she goes, he's going to rule the world someday. And I'm like, what? Him? What do you mean? Why? And she said, don't you know nothing? They're the Illuminati. She would always do that to me. So we're coming down in there. One of them grabbed me by the throat, and I closed my eyes, and I had him, and I was tiny, like a little rag doll compared to it, and it was holding me up like that, and I cried out. I felt like I couldn't talk, and I cried out, "Jesus, save me!" And it stopped, and we flew back, and we flew out of there, and I still had him at his little arm. And we flew back, and we rolled out of his room and out of the hallway and into the living room. And if you've ever fallen off a merry-go-round and you woo, and you stop yourself, and I stopped, and we grabbed the ground, and I was like, I just felt dizzy. And I looked up at him, and he looked up at me, and we're on the ground, like we're looking at a bug. And he looked up at me, and he goes, "Moon, why are you not like my friends?" And I was looking at him like, what the hell do I say? Excuse me. I was like,
that's probably appropriate considering what you saw.
My friends. And I said, well, it's scary in your room, Elon. It's dark. Well, they started calling him Elon later. They switched his name. And I remember the difference. So he tried to feed me to his friends, and he knew exactly what he was doing because he called me to come play with his friends. Those things and that. And I said Revelation 10, but I think it's Revelation 9. But I think maybe he's the demon from the Apollo from Revelation 10. I think maybe he's a clone.
And, who knows? Maybe he'll be the inventor of the mark, right?
That's another thing. Can I share that? I was told about him.
Sure.
Okay, after he did that, opening the portal thing, I didn't tell what he did. And then I asked one of my the head mother of the Santeria, and I think she's the head mother of those people at our southern borders, they're calling them in. Okay, they paid for this a long time ago. But I said, is he the Antichrist? And she didn't blink. She said, no, but he will present the mark. And when you see him do that, the stage will be set.
She said that?
She said that. The stage will be set for the Antichrist to step forward. So August 28th, 2020, Elon Musk presented the Neurolink.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the mark of the beast, the image of the beast to be worshipped? Are they the same thing? And if that was true, would that make him the false prophet? And and if that was true, wouldn't that be a trick of the devil to give us a false prophet who's an atheist, rock star, supermodel, girlfriends drive sports cars and tunnels around rocket ships? Boy, that's
There's-
one tricky false prophet.
There's